Hello and welcome to your weekly dose of higher wisdom. I am Dr. Shelley, the cannabis chiropractor, and this is my husband Kumar.
Hello and welcome.
And we are so honored and excited to be here with you all today, sharing with you how to harness the power of solar flares. You have to turn that to heal traumas. So, my love, do you desire to share a little bit about solar flares?
All right, for those of you who don't know, so I'll get into the technical portion of it. And then Shelley will bring us into how it can be healed. In the technical portion of it, I'm going to explain what's happening to our bodies during this time as well. If you catch me looking outside, folks, it's simply because it was a beautiful sunny day and it just started drizzling, but there are portions of the sky still blue and sunny.
Surprise!
So, hey, here we go. So, what happens to our planet? Every 11 years, we go through if you've ever seen a sine wave, which is a wave that goes up and it comes down to a middle line and it goes down for the same amount of time and it comes up to a middle line, that is a sinusoidal waveform, often referred to simply as a sine wave. So it's a high for a certain period of time and a low for a certain period of time, and then it goes up and down and up and down and up and down, okay? So what happens to the planet is every 11 years, we go through one of these sine waves. And what these sine waves are doing for us is the sine wave affects the solar activity on the planet. So there is something called a solar maximum and a solar minimum. So what happens in the solar maximum is for 11 years, that's that upper curving, there is extreme activity on the face of the sun. So there is a magnetic pull and the sun literally flips its polarity during that changeover. So right now, we are in a solar maximum. So what does that mean? Solar maximum simply means that there is a lot of activity happening on the sun right now. And again, this is nothing to freak out about. It happens every 11 years. We go through the solar maximum, then the solar minimum.
It's a part of nature.
Just how we live. Most times, the most you may experience when it's a solar maximum is you may lose GPS, may get a little funky. This is my industry, so I can tell you I've seen many of these. So the GPS, the satellites stop reporting or it gets funky because when the solar maximum is happening, you get these things called solar flares, which is an outburst of energy from the sun, or something called a CME, which is a coronal mass ejection, which is like a storm. Imagine a hurricane leaving the sun and going into whatever direction it is shooting off at. So right now, during this period, we are in solar maximum, and we have been for the last year or two, and we are now entering the massive portion of the solar maximum, which also increases the coronal mass ejection, CME, okay? Sorry about the science. Now, why is it important this time than any other time? Remember I told you every 11 years we go through this sign? Well, every 6,000 years, that wave also happens. And every 12,000 years, it comes back. Now, every 12,000 years, there is something catastrophic that happens to the planet. Think Ice Age. Every 6,000 years, there is something not as catastrophic, but is still catastrophic, not necessarily human extinction level, but it can still be that way. Think the Great Deluge or the Great Floods, okay? We are in a 12,000 year solar cycle. Why is it important this year? And Shelley will get into what we can do.
How to take advantage of it.
Now, trigger warning, some of this may sound scary. Well, our goal is not to create fear.
And if you do get triggered, know that all of the lives and all of our ceremonies come with a trigger disclaimer. They are invitations to drop into your body to feel what wound or trauma or suppressed emotion gets triggered. So whatever feels triggering, the word, whatever it is, it's just poking a trauma, a wound, a pain, a fear within you. So use the trigger to go into your body to meet it, to feel it, so you can heal it.
Absolutely. So why this time that we're in right now is so important, and why the healing is so important now more than ever. Our ionosphere, which is the protective layer that keeps the oxygen within our atmosphere and gravity working to keep us on this planet, because we are sailing through the universe and we have this ionosphere that protects us from the solar winds and everything else. Every 12,000 years, that ionosphere, and this is recorded in history, archaeologists have gone back and taken soil samples. This is what they're doing down in Antarctica and all that. They're doing soil samples to figure out when was it that Antarctica, which used to be tropical, when did it turn into this frozen space that we see now? And what happens during this period? Well, according to the scientists, I'm not a scientist, I'm just telling you what I've learned, we are headed to a magnetic pole shift. And that could happen by 2040 or before. Now, a magnetic pole shift, everything flips upside down, the poles reverse, so you can imagine the chaos of the planet. Hollywood will tell you more about that. We're just here to state the facts. So here is the facts. Our ionosphere is the thinnest it's been in 12,000 years. And we are going into solar maximum. So what happens? Well, when these solar flares, which are marked by, they're graded by G grade, M grade, X class. So when you hear anybody talking about an M class, M goes from 0 to 9, and X class, well, X from 0 to whatever. When we hear that there's a solar X class flare heading to Earth, which means that the sun, when the flare happened, the sun happened to be facing directly at the Earth, it usually takes about 48 hours for us to feel the impact. Again, Shelley will cover what the impact is and how we feel it. What happens with us is that that frequency that comes down affects all human beings. That solar flares, if it's an M series, if it's an M5 or lower, nothing to worry about. Unless there's a CME that follows it that's pretty powerful, those are rated as Gs. So if it's a G5 or G6, then we got something to worry about. When I say worry, our electronics is going to go goofy, your satellite may go down, your internet may go down, your phones may not work properly. Just goofy things is when we get these solar X class and massive M classes coming in the geostorms. Mm-hmm. Now, because our ionosphere is so thin, what's happening is that we are entered into officially solar maximum, which means the solar flares, more importantly, the CMEs, which are the storms. It's like hurricane season. Those are going to get hot and heavy over the next 2 years. We may see things like your phone may act all goofy. We may see things like it is possible that one of these things may create what's called an EMP, which is an electromagnetic pulse. If one of those are strong enough, like it's an X14 or higher, and the Earth has experienced this before. In 1849, if you Google search the Carrington event, it was a massive CME, not so much the X class. It was a massive geostorm that took down all the electronics on the planet. So that is a potential.
Absolutely.
So what we're experiencing, because the ionosphere is thin, is that these energies are starting to affect us. It affects every single thing on the planet. Every tree, every animal, every organic thing on the planet is affected by this energy of solar flares.
Which is high frequency energy coming from the cosmos.
So I'll finish up by telling you this, and I'll let Shelley continue from here. Science is now proven. This is not hearsay, this is not fairy spiritual bypassing. Science is proving that when these X-class solar flares and large M-class solar flares and the large CMEs are hitting the earth, it comes like a storm. And some of it may linger for a few hours, some of it may stay here for a day. To give you an example, we were in Colombia on May 10th when they had, it wasn't the largest, but it was the most powerful in the last 2 years.
It was a big one.
Electricity, internet, where we were in Colombia, everything was
down.
shut down for most of the day. So that's how powerful it was. Different parts of the world felt it differently. Recently in October, there was an X9 that hit the planet. What we look for, we get up every morning and the first thing we check.
We don't check local weather.
We don't care about the local weather. We care about what's happening in space. We're looking for an X14 or a G10 storm or higher. Why? Well, you got about 48 hours before all hell breaks loose. If we get an X14 or larger solar flare, there is a large possibility that it may shut down all electronics. It may be gone for the day, it may be gone for a week, maybe gone for a month. We don't know. Scientists don't know. But they are telling us that these
It is a possibility.
It is a possibility. And this energy that's coming off the sun, it affects us. It reduces our B vitamins in our bodies. And it also affects our emotion. All emotion in the human psyche and animals will be affected. How is it affected? It is magnified. Depending on the power of that solar flare or the geostorm, all of your low vibration, all your low frequencies, all your feelings of not good enough, not loved, can't be seen, all the trauma in our bodies would be a nice way to put it. All the trauma in our bodies, in our minds, will be magnified. So how it's going to show up, you'll realize we see it. We're very short with each other. And we are normally a very loving couple, laughing and enjoying ourselves. So when we get really short, we're like, ooh,
solar flares
coming in. So we are extra careful around each other. If either one of us gets triggered, we're like, let's take it to practice this evening. I understand the solar flares is coming in. This may not be you speaking, but it's your trauma showing up. So I've got to be cognitive of that.
And why is that? So now, for me, I love these solar flares because they give me a quantum leap in my healing. That's why we get up and we look at the space weather instead of the local weather. And right now we have 30, there were 30 between C and M class solar flares that popped off the sun in the last 48 hours. So they are starting to slowly come in. And if you think about it, if you look at it logically, these solar flares that are coming from our sun, which is the divine masculine, it's the masculine essence, the principle. Every human life form on the planet depends on the sun for life force energy. If the sun were to disappear, there would be no lights on the planet and all the plants would die because they're not getting their life force, which is how they survive. So when these high frequency energies flow into Earth, what they are doing is, it's literally, envision them coming in like lightning bolts, and they are lighting up all of the lower frequencies that cannot survive in this higher frequency state. So as you just said, all of the not good enough, not this, not that, all of your traumas and wounds, you will notice your emotions will be amplified.
And it doesn't take much either.
Doesn't take much to get triggered. If you're on the phone to your bank and you can't get anywhere with them and you find yourself getting short and yelling at them, it's because these solar flares are coming in, and that lower state of consciousness self, which we call a trauma self. A trauma self is a false identity created by none other than the ego. Out of what? trauma, hence trauma self, pretty self-explanatory. Because at the time of trauma, your soul flees from the scene, which is your higher self, to avoid the full impact of pain.
Can I jump in for a second? Imagine when you're drunk, it's the same thing. If you drink enough and you get drunk, your soul doesn't want to be, so it escapes and somebody else or something else takes over. So that's kind of what you're saying.
Absolutely. So every time that a trauma occurs, or even checking out with alcohol, pharmaceutical drugs, or even if you choose to check out with cannabis, the more you are disembodied, meaning your higher self is out of your body, the more your ego, who is like the master dictator, because higher self is no longer in the body, controlling and having power over the body. So now the ego, who lives in the head, sitting up on that throne, being the dictator, who's deathly afraid to drop below the neck into the body, has to create a false identity, or kind of like a master control panel that connects to that trauma that occurred that caused your higher self to escape, causing you to have a disconnection from that aspect of your higher self. So every aspect of your higher self that you have lost connection to, you have a trauma self that is in power and in control because your higher self isn't there. So when these solar flares come in and you start feeling them, and trust us, the more embodied you become, days before knowing a solar flare is incoming, we feel these energies flowing in through our crown. I feel it in my vagus nerve. It starts lighting up.
I feel it on my back. I always ask Shelly, I'm like, do you feel that? And what I feel on my back, like right between my shoulder blades, mid-back, is, that feeling you get when your hair is standing up, or you walk past electricity and all the hair stands up, or it feels like somebody just lightly brushed you on the back, like you turn around. That's what it feels like for me.
Yeah. So you will begin to feel it more and more, and in your own ways. Sometimes I feel that. Sometimes I feel a lot of aches and pains that arise because, again, trauma is stored in the body. Everything that we have avoided, that we've repressed, that we've judged, that we've shamed, that we've denied, betrayed, rejected, neglected, don't want to see, don't want to look at, don't want to hear that about myself. All of that has been shoved deep down. And that is the lower frequencies that are amplified with these incoming higher frequencies.
And again, don't take our word for this. There are several books. Somatophobia, the book that we will be doing the book reading on December 20th, is all about the trauma stored in the body. There are several doctors who have written about this. My wife is not the first doctor to write about it, but there are several amazing books. One of my favorite is Body Keeps the Score. If you've never gotten that book, I would encourage you to get it. It's a little bit of a technical read, but you can get through it. But it discusses how our trauma is stored in our body.
Absolutely. Because your fascia, which I've talked about this before, but if you're new, your fascia is a connective tissue that covers your body. It's like saran wrap. It's elastic. It's stretchy. It's supposed to be fluid. It's a liquid crystalline matrix, but it's not. It's stuck and it's restricted and it's painful. And that is where all pain and all symptoms arise from, because that's where all traumas are stored. Not just traumas from this life, not just traumas from past lives, but all the traumas from your ancestors, as well as traumas from other incarnations in other time, space, dimensions, realities, galaxies, and planets, because it is the sacred record keeper of your soul.
And again, everything we talk about can be backed up by science. Epigenetics, which is a science, discusses that all of the trauma, unhealed trauma that our ancestors did not heal, has been passed on to us through our DNA. And we got to do that demo, explaining. We're going to do a demo, folks, showing you how this operates so that people can visualize it and go, oh, that makes sense.
Clicks.
So epigenetics, we are not telling you any hairy-fairy stuff. This is science. Science also tells us that that liquid crystal in our body, which creates our flexibility and movement as we become older and more traumatized, gets harder.
It gets tighter, it's constricted. Your pineal gland, your third eye, which is your inner eye, and it's a liquid crystal as well, but it's been calcified. Why? Well, because the system has done everything possible to poison us and to cause the calcification of it to prevent us from having our inner eye open, which is what allows us to see the connections in our life, in our healing. It allows us to see things that we couldn't see before from just that logical thinking state, the monkey mind, which is really the ego, because it's the trauma self that is seeing. And when you're seeing through the lens of a trauma self, it's tunnel vision. You can't see anything that does not fit inside that tunnel. Where the more your liquid crystal eye begins to open and decalcify, is the more you'll be able to see connections where before you couldn't see connections. And coming back to how and why to harness the power of solar flares. Like I said, I take advantage of them. We immediately know that this is an opportunity to heal something. There is something that has been buried within us that is going to be amplified, to be seen, to be heard, to be met, to be felt, so it can be healed. And that truly is the sole purpose of this cycle that we are going through. And that's why you're seeing on the planet, there's a lot of chaos. And there's a lot of chaos because the same way that our lower frequencies, our trauma selves, are rising to the surface to be seen, to be heard, to be healed, there are a lot of lower frequencies that have been imprinted in Mother Earth's body from the paths that our ancestors walked, all the wars, all the genocide, all the killings, all the division, separation, racism, all the control and oppression. Collectively, all of that is stored in Mother Earth's body.
So, in case you're wondering why the world is as chaotic as it is right now, look around, open your eyes and look around. The Western Empire is crumbling.
It's crumbling.
There is 2-3 different spaces right now that there are potential world wars. Like, we are literally sitting on the verge of, any day you turn on the TV, you will hear, because it's started already, and we are being so distracted that we're not paying attention that it's already started and it's going on. It's because of these solar flares that are coming in. All ancient cultures spoke about this, going back thousands of years.
Yes, they did.
Of what happens during these solar maximums, during these 12,000 year cycles. And you had mentioned about, which is something we were discussing the other day, about it's not just this lifetime. It's not just our parents and our ancestors. It is multiple lifetimes if you subscribe to the concept of reincarnation. And again, science proves also, quantum physics specifically, that we are in a multiverse.
Absolutely. And there's a hot topic that I've been seeing floating around as people are starting to awaken, because that is the sole purpose of these solar flares during this time. It is for an awakening from this amnesic state that humanity has been living in, of giving away their power to these false systems that have tricked humanity into believing that if you give us your power, we will provide for you safety, support, security, health care, education, this and that. So it's false man in the sky who's all judgmental and yeah. All of that is what is crumbling because it's been an illusion. It's not real. It doesn't provide real safety, security, support, financial stability, whatever that you have bought into that they've sold it as. It's all coming crumbling down, and we're already witnessing that. So when we look at the micro and the macro, because as you oftentimes talk about the macro, he'll share when we're in our daily practice, what's going on in the world at the macro level. And then I bring it back and I'm like, well, here is what is going on at the micro level. This is Mother Earth purging a lot of the lower frequencies that has been present in the collective consciousness and that has been playing out physically on Mother Earth's body.
Or we can see it even in our bodies.
We can see it in our our guru's body here. He's also purging. So when there are big solar storms coming in, we
He's sick.
see that
He's normally sick.
he feels lethargic.
He doesn't eat. He just
he doesn't
sleeps all
want to
day.
play. Normally he's wanting his food and his treats. And even though he's 14 and can't see out of one eye, can partially hear, he still has a lot of energy and is just a bundle full of joy. But when the solar flares come in, we know, we're like, if he's feeling it, okay, it's incoming.
So, but like you said, we do have an opportunity, because remember, these energies are being magnified. So the magnification of the energy can be used for something good. It's not always gloom and doom.
No, they're triggers. And triggers are what? Opportunities to heal. So what if you could imagine that every solar flare, every CME is a trigger that you're receiving from the cosmos, a gift to propel you along your healing journey. And that is why we wake up and we check the solar weather every day, because we're looking for those extra boosts of energy. We know that, okay, we're receiving this high frequency, shit's gonna come up, we're gonna go deeper in our daily practice. We're gonna go deeper into unraveling whatever emotions, traumas, wounds are showing up.
And we know our triggers are also going to go deeper, because they're going to be like magnified.
Oh yeah, we feel them a lot.
So we feel it. So one of the things that Shelly and I often discuss is, we know you can't avoid it. Folks, we can tell you now, there is no bypassing. You can dance around this and love and light it all you want. You cannot bypass this. So we allow ourselves to feel it, whatever that is.
You have to feel it.
And then, like we always say, you have to decide at that point in time, how long am I going to stay in this trigger where my trauma self is now showed up front and center? How long am I going to let that out here playing around? Because that trauma self likes company, doesn't it, love?
Yes, it does. And this is where having a go-to practice, a daily self-healing practice, is key. Because if you do not, and I wrote about this in my email newsletter yesterday, this month is just an intense month, hence why we had 30 solar flares popping off the sun. It's an intense month of bringing up the past. A lot of karmic contracts and trauma bonds that we discussed last week, as well as emotions, deep-seated emotions are rising to the surface. And the core reason for somatophobia, which for those of you who are like, what does that word mean? Fear of the body. Why does humanity have fear of the body? Because we don't know what to do when we get into our body. When all of these emotions arise, when the trauma selves are amplified, when you and your partner have a blow up, you will get to see what your nervous system state is. Because just like cannabis is a mirror, when you imbibe her in sacred ceremony, she will reveal to you your current nervous system state. She will guide you into seeing, feeling, hearing, needing a trauma self that is connected to either a fight state, defensiveness, wanting to fight the person, the need to be right, or
flight state,
wanting to run and get away, or avoidance, or a freeze state, which is just complete paralyzation, like no response, you feel dead, just like deer in the headlights.
You go inwards and you lock the doors. That is the freeze state.
So just like cannabis is going to reveal your current state to you as an opportunity to heal, these solar flares, like I said, they're triggers that are poking that within you that needs to be healed. They are opportunities for deep healing. They are going to reveal to you a fight, a flight, or a freeze state that is connected to a trauma. And if you don't have a practice to go into your body to meet all those emotions and traumas and wounds and pain and symptoms, which remind me here in a little bit to go down the Kundalini pathway. But if you don't have a practice to go into your body to transmute those stuck energies, then every consecutive solar flare is going to keep bringing it up to the surface, just like I used to tell my patients. Pain and symptoms can oftentimes be the last thing to arrive because they are a cry for help. Your body is literally like, I have tried sending you soft, gentle messages and you're not hearing me. So now I'm going to scream at you to get your attention. And that is where sciatica, neck pain, intense pain in the body, or symptoms or dis-ease will show up to get your attention.
Now, full disclosure, not everybody is going to feel this.
Wait, what?
Yeah. So here is what, again, what Shelly and I share with you. We don't regurgitate stuff that we have accumulated by reading books or watching YouTube videos and just putting our spin on it. We are literally pulling all of this information out of our bodies because we are in practice between 3 to 5 hours every single day. Most of the time in a cannabis state because we are imbibing cannabis and setting the intention to unravel what's going on in our bodies. And we are putting our bodies into different pain portals, trying to set ourselves free. That's what we do.
Well, not trying. We actually make it through the portals to the other side.
So not everybody's going to feel this because not everybody, think about it. Not everybody's in pain. My wife's a doctor. She'll tell you this. Everybody is in pain.
We live in a pain body.
You just don't know you're in pain. And like Shelly says, the pain screams at you like a last-ditch attempt to get your attention. So you often hear doctors will tell you that by the time you are thirsty, it's because the body's already dehydrated.
It's too late.
This is exactly what happens with our pain body. By the time we feel the pain, and trust me, when you're almost 60 years old like me, and you're doing this kind of work, when you get up in the morning, you're like, oh shit, this hurts. Everything hurts. And the more you have a daily practice, we are not going to sugarcoat it, you're going to hurt. It's not that the daily practice is causing you to hurt. You are unraveling the pain body that's been lying dormant. That's why most people wouldn't feel it because they're so disconnected from the body. The mind and the body is no longer married, that the mind is going 90 miles an hour about everything that you got to do and who I got to get back to and what I got to be on social media, all our stories that we don't pay attention to what's happening in the body. So during these solar flares, when this starts happening in our bodies, you will feel it. If you are connected to the body, you will feel it. Headache, you'll feel.
And even if you're not connected to your body, this is where the solar flares are going to cause your body to scream at you to get your attention. Because that pain body, and we always give everyone who commits to this inside out self-healing practice that we share in our ceremonies, we always give a disclaimer. I just shared it with a sister who did her sacred secretion ceremony with me today, that when you're on this journey and you feel like you're meeting more pain and more emotions, it's not that you're not progressing or that you're taking steps back. We have a pain body that literally houses pain.
And layers and layers.
Layers of pain, our pain, ancestral pain, past life pain, collective pain, societal traumas, cultural traumas. So there are so many layers to our pain body. Imagine it like a vehicle. And I gave this analogy in my book that this vehicle called the body, which is a temple that houses our inner god and goddess, except when we're disembodied, our inner god and goddess is now external, which is kind of where man-made religions came from, of creating an external. It's mirroring our level of disembodiment. Our God is external. Our goddess is external because we're disembodied. So when we are disembodied, our body starts deteriorating. It's just like a temple. If a temple is no longer being worshipped and honored and visited and taken care of, what is it going to do? It's going to crumble and fall apart.
And maintain.
And our bodies go through that same process. It's called oxidation. free radicals. We literally, if our bodies and our cells are not getting enough nutrients and blood and oxygen and life force energy, they go through this process of literally rusting, which is what leads to the aging process.
Arthritis, osteoporosis,
All the itises.
All the damage that you're doing to your body when you're young, trust me, when you get older, you're gonna feel it.
If you're not healing. So now, if our body is a vehicle, it has 7 gears because we have 7 chakras. So we have a pain body, which is stored in the fascia, and that's all the pain that I've just shared through all the different layers. Our vehicle's true potential, like all of the superhuman qualities and traits that are discussed or even shown in movies, the ability to telepathically communicate, our ability to teleport, all of those are actual human traits and abilities that our body has the capacity to tap into.
And if you don't believe us, go Google some yogic, some true yogis in India and see what some of these men are doing. These men are superhuman.
Absolutely superhuman. And how are they activating their superhuman powers?
Kundalini, baby.
Exactly, because I mean, just real quick, an example of the one who he buried himself underground for how long?
2 days. It was an experiment. Actually, it's a story that Dr. Deepak Chopra used to work with Dr. Chopra back in 08, 09. And he shared the story with me that when he was an intern in India, that they buried a yogi to see, because the yogi had the ability, self-mastery, to slow down the breath, slow down the heartbeat, to put him in a state where he does not require food or anything. He can shut down, he doesn't even require oxygen. So they buried a yogi for 2 days, took him back out. He awoke himself and back to normal. There is a video that we have seen where a yogi hasn't eaten food or drinking water in 50 years.
50 years.
The BBC did a documentary on him. So this is the human body, but it's about awakening.
Well, and science say that only how much percentage of our DNA is junk DNA?
97%.
Yeah, so can you tell me what is junk about that DNA if we are not fully awake to our superhuman capacities? So coming back to now our body being a vehicle, and it has 7 gears, well, guess what? Each of those 7 gears is an aspect or a layer of the pain body. We are not fully turned on in our full capacity. We see, hear, smell, feel, taste at a very, very, very small percentage. But
Less than 5%.
We're walking around saying we're living,
Yep.
we're alive, we're feeling. And just as we had shared before, not everybody is feeling these pains and symptoms that are arising from the solar flares because they may be disembodied. They're so checked out and external from their body that their body is living on automatic pilot mode with a lot of that pain buried. Because we've been on this journey for 7 years,
At least.
more or less.
Well,
and
together 7 years. Although we've been married for 14,
Well, with the daily
but we
healing
started
practice,
a daily healing
7
practice
years.
about 7 years ago. I started mine because I came from a lineage of Hindu priests. So this is part of my culture. Being able to talk about the yogis and the Vedas and all of these things is part of my culture. So I've started this journey from a long time ago. I know you started it from the time you were a teenager.
Teenager, when I decided I
19,
wanted
20?
to be, when I wanted to be a chiropractor at 13, I started opening my tunnel vision beyond what I saw in the world as a possibility for healing. Because I love the philosophy that the power that made the body heals the body. That is chiropractic philosophy.
So tell us about these gears.
Which years?
No, the gears.
Oh, the gears.
So we finished with the gears?
We're kind of finished with the gears because when all of the gears, think about it. So if your body is a vehicle and it's like a Ferrari or a Lamborghini and it's got 7 gears, and we have a pain body, which if all of the pain that is stored in our pain body were to be fully present, engaged online, feeling it, it would literally fry our nervous system. We would not be able to live. So as a protective mechanism, our body only can feel a small amount of the pain that exists in our pain body.
So every gear we feel a different level.
Every gear, you feel a different layer and level of the pain body.
And we can tell you that that actually works, because there are times when we started this, we can literally feel like all the pain is in the feet or the ankle or the toes. Then the pain is around the thighs or the knees and the T-bands. Then it's around the hips. So we can feel it traveling through the body.
Absolutely. So this is where, when you're on this journey of healing, or when solar flares are coming in and you are committed to healing, you will notice like, wow, there's a lot of pain here. And we get the question a lot, well, when we begin this healing journey, when do we end?
We don't.
What if there's no ending? And why would you want to end? We have been asleep for so long. We have been disconnected, disembodied, disassociated for so long. Why would we not want to move through those layers of pain to fully activate each of those 7 gears, which each one activates more and more of our higher capacities, more and more of our ability to awaken our inner eye and seek connections where there were none.
So to bring it back to the solar flares, we have an opportunity
to wake up,
to literally hyper speed the healing in the body. And we will tell you, we are adamant about this, folks. If you are not healing the body, all trauma is stored in the body. If you're not addressing the healing from the body, you cannot do it in the mind.
I did that for 15 years, and that's why I got burned out. I'm like, nothing's working. Why
You've
are
done
the
every
same
modality.
triggers and traumas showing up yet again? I thought I dealt with that. I thought I subconsciously reprogrammed that. I thought I emotion coded that emotion.
We did it
Why
all.
is it still showing up?
Therapist, talk therapist, you hypnotist,
You
we've done it all. It's thousands of dollars in years. You've got to work the body.
The missing link is the body, because right now, why these solar flares are so important, why we were in this cycle of awakening, why the poles are shifting, not just on Mother Earth, but on the sun, on Mother Earth, for example. And this is where a lot of the purging right now this year, there's a lot of purging of anger, rage, and frustration. It's in Chinese, it's the year of the wood dragon. Wood is connected to the liver. Liver is the home of anger, rage, and frustration.
And just as we are purging, Mother Earth is purging. Look at the hurricanes. Look at the hurricane season we just had. If you pay attention, look, China, Philippines, Taiwan, they had like 7 Category 5 typhoons in less than 14 days. So Mother Earth, volcanoes are shooting up all over, mega volcanoes.
60-something are active right now.
Mother Earth is purging, our body is purging.
Skin eruptions, acne, rashes, you name it, scratch, things are purging. So whatever is showing up in your body, it is a collective purge right now of lower frequencies.
But the solar flares can help us.
Can help us heal it. So when we look at the poles shifting, and this is occurring microly and macroly, because if we look at our inner poles, the masculine and the feminine, they're shifted, they're inverted. A lot of women are more masculine and a lot of men are more feminine. And there's no judgment in that. Remember the trigger disclaimer. But I can
It's just a statement of observation.
I can admit, being a woman, I was always more connected to my inner masculine energy. I was very driven, just like a boy.
A-type personality.
Very A-type personality. So for me, this healing journey has been an inner flipping of my poles back into a state of balance between my inner feminine and inner masculine.
Which is interesting for us because, again, I am also A-type personality and I'm very strong in my masculine. So for both of us, we've had to make a shift into our feminine, where I'm tapping into more of my creativity, cooking, I'm doing more feminine things, allowing my creativity to flow to balance this off.
Absolutely. And even though I was more in my masculine before, it was the wounded masculine. So for me right now, I'm in the stage of actually tapping into and strengthening my inner divine masculine to be in that balance. Taking this back out to the macro level, magnetic north of Mother Earth has already shifted 24 degrees and is moving into, it's literally right on the cusp of the ledge of a supervolcanic crater.
In the Arctic.
So when these solar flares come in, they come in through the poles. So now, if you pay attention and you're aware, like, wow, there's so many volcanoes on Mother Earth that are just rumbling, 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 because as these high frequencies come in, they are almost flowing directly into this supervolcanic crater, which next year, 2025, that magnetic north is moving into the supervolcanic crater, which means direct shot of the solar flare into Mother Earth, into her volcanic chain lines.
Into the planet itself. So,
which is
going to be magnified even more as it happens. Now, you're going to talk about the Kundalini.
And this is where it comes in, because this is a Kundalini awakening for Mother Earth. First, what is Kundalini?
What's Kunda buffer?
Let's start with, Kundalini and Kunda buffer. Kunda buffer, speaking of Year of the Wood Dragon, liver, anger, rage, and
Most
frustration.
people have never heard of the term Kunda buffer.
Kunda buffer is your ego's serpent. So just like Kundalini is people refer to the Kundalini as this serpent coiled around the base of your spine, called your coccyx 3.5 times. It's a sleeping serpent. Kundalini is the essence of the Divine Mother. Because we all, every single one of us, our souls were birthed from the Divine Mother, the cosmic womb. We all are a seed of the Divine Mother's potential, except when we're living disembodied and not fully alive, that seed is just a seed. So this healing journey, which is oftentimes referred to as ascension, it's an ascension into our higher consciousness, our higher self, or we could view it as a descension of our higher self, our higher consciousness into our body.
But in order for us to ascend, we have to descend
into our body.
Into our body.
Because Kundalini cannot awaken if she does not, and I call her she because it is a feminine energy. It's the Divine Mother essence, or the principle within us. So Kundalini cannot awaken if there's not a feeling of safety in the body. And what I mean by that is Kundalini travels when she wakes up. She travels through the vagus nerve, the longest nerve in the body that sends all those messages, the fight, flight, freeze. It gets its messages from what is stored in your fascia, all those unhealed traumas, stuck energies. Fascia communicates to your nervous system, sending that message of danger through your vagus nerve to your brain. Kundalini also has to flow through that vagus nerve, which is like a highway. So if there's a traffic jam on the highway of fight, flight, freeze vehicles, how is Kundalini going to flow? She's going to wake up and try to flow and run into the first blockage. First vehicle of fight, flight, freeze, which is oftentimes in the sacrum and lower back.
Our root chakra.
And it leads to low back pain, knee pain, hip pain, ankle pain, sciatica, all sorts of inflammation, hemorrhoids, digestive issues,
ovary issues, prostate
womb issues.
It's the first 3 chakras of everybody's body. I don't care who you are. All 3 chakras are blocked, and that's what stops the flow of our Kundalini.
Well, and those are our lower chakras, which keep us in our lower state of consciousness.
Now, just so that you know, it takes, so again, bringing this back to what is going on with the solar flares. So, if you're a dedicated yogi, and I mean a yogi, what that means is that somebody who was taken at the age of 3 or 4.
Not a Western yogi.
Not a Western yogi. Somebody who was taken at the age of 3 or 4, not wearing Lululemon and drinking and working out my hemp mat and telling myself I'm a yogi because I do yoga every day. That's not a yogi. Okay. I'm talking about 3 or 4 years old. Your parents took you and decided for you that you are going to be given to the temple. At that stage, you will see your parents every once in a while, but you have given up all, or your parents made the decision for you that you have given up all material needs, so you no longer need your parents. You're never going to have a girlfriend or a boyfriend. You're not going to have a career. Your job is just self-healing, self-mastery. So you dedicate yourself into that ashram or in a monastery for the monks, and you spend the rest of your life doing that. Now, out of those students, when they get to a certain age, now remember, these students are given rites of passage. As Western people and people of modern day, we're not given rites of passage. There are very few, even indigenous cultures, that still give rites of passage. We know there's one in Amazon, not far from where we live. That's a whole different conversation we'll have another time of what their rites of passage is. However, we are not given any rites of passage, so we are just freely exposing our energy, expelling our energies from our bodies. These yogis who are in this self-mastery practice every single day, when they enter into that stage of adulthood, they're handpicked based on their dedication and where they have grown to, and then taught how they spend 7 years learning how to awaken their Kundalini energy.
Absolutely.
And the solar flares are doing what for us?
They're awakening our Kundalini energy, which is why pain and symptoms, all those lower frequencies that are in the way, preventing Kundalini from flowing, are showing up. So coming back to Kundalini and Kunda buffer, Kundalini is the serpent of your higher self. Kunda buffer is the serpent of your trauma self.
Now, it looks just like Kundalini.
Kunda buffer is a trickster. He, she is sneaky. It will camouflage itself and trick you into believing
It's your Kundalini.
it's your Kundalini. Because Kundalini is the most misunderstood energy on this planet. Shakti is also the most misunderstood energy on this planet.
And they're not the same.
They're not the same. Shakti is life force energy, chi, prana. Kundalini is now a small sect of Shakti. Shakti is the energy that flows through your body that keeps you alive, that is in your womb or hara, that gives birth to the next generation, which is where all of the unhealed traumas come from, because you're literally creating a baby from that cauldron that is lined with all the unhealed traumas and wounds. So Shakti has to wake up first in order for Kundalini to awaken. So oftentimes, we see and hear of people going to a weekend seminar and they're waking up their Kundalini, or they're having a spontaneous Kundalini awakening. And then there's pain and symptoms afterwards, or they feel fried. We've known people who've had a spontaneous Kundalini awakening.
Guilty as charged?
Absolutely, in your Qigong retreat. You were like, what is this?
Nobody
and even
knew.
the teacher didn't even know to tell you, hey, this is what occurred. You had a Kundalini awakening. And what that, just real quick to give you an example of what it feels like.
Well, let me describe what mine felt like, and maybe that will help.
Okay, just be aware,
Yeah.
we have about 10 minutes.
So, real quick, folks, I went to University of San Diego for a 5-day Qigong retreat. It was all day doing Qigong. And on the last day, we were doing this dragon breathing. And it was hyper speed. There was 250 people in the room. And my body I was on my back doing this particular breath work. And suddenly, my body curved to the point where I shot up in the sky, where the bottom of my heel and the back of my head were the only thing touching the ground. And imagine a body bowed out where you can literally crawl underneath that body. That's how bowed out I was, again, with only my heel and the back of my head touching the mat. And I stayed there. And it felt as though somebody had taken an electric iron prod and stuck it right into my solar plexus and lifted me up to the sky. And then my arms shot straight up. And I was just feeling just nothing, but it was painful, but a pleasurable painful.
That's just it. Exactly. And this is where, when Kundalini awakens, imagine you all have experienced, your hands or feet falling asleep and being numb. Imagine that magnified by 1,000, and it's your entire body that feels as if it's just been plugged into an electrical outlet.
If you've ever been shocked by electricity,
That's what it feels like.
that's a minute feeling to what Kundalini feels like.
I mean, yesterday, it was this morning, you grabbed onto my hand and pulled and stretched me, and the electricity that shot straight up into my spine it jolted me awake. And that's what these solar flares are doing. They are here to jolt us awake.
So wrapping up, we have the ability to use
harness
this
this
energy
power
and do our inner healing.
It's an advantage that all of the yogis and monks in the past who have ascended into their higher consciousness, they didn't have these solar flares as an advantage. So we have an advantage to enter into a self-mastery practice. We do not need to go to an ashram or a temple in India and commit ourselves and give up our, family and our material life. We can do this from the comfort of our own home, which we are doing. And if you are curious about this practice and how to even take it to the next level, we'll invite you to join our next ceremonial book reading, which is Friday, December 20th, because we are discussing
8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time.
From 8 to 10, we are discussing the sacred secretion, which is your monthly rebirth. It is a monthly Kundalini awakening, and there is an entire process that we will share about how to honor this monthly rebirth or this monthly Kundalini awakening so that you can receive this quantum leap into your higher consciousness. Because the benefit of harnessing the power of solar flares right now is so that you can literally quantum leap into your higher consciousness so that when the solar flares are incoming, you can begin to surf these high frequency waves with more ease. And that is the benefit of having a daily practice. Without a daily practice, the waves are going to be hard to surf.
And it works.
And it works.
How do we know it works, folks? We're not here to sell you anything. We don't care. We're just sharing what has been working for us.
Because we hit burnout. We hit rock bottom. We tried everything, thousands of dollars, and nothing worked.
I was in corporate America for 25 years in a successful career. She's been a doctor since she was 23 years old. So we've done it all. We've had the burnout. We've done the modalities. We found something that works, and that's what we're doing here. That's why most of these are free. Our book reading is free. When we released the book, Somatophobia, that book sold 1,700 copies in the first 3 days. And it shot up into the #1 position for a short while.
For 3 different categories.
And now it sits in Amazon's top 100. And the book was only released in July. And February. And it sits in Amazon top 100 for, what's the 3 categories?
Shamanic healing, alternative medicine.
And plant medicine, I think.
Plant medicine, probably.
So
energy healing.
That's why we do the book reading. We encourage you. It's hearing the vibration of the people who wrote the book.
The book is a vibrational transmission of truth. Its sole purpose is to awaken you to your higher consciousness.
And if you have a relationship, the book reading is done with cannabis because the book is about cannabis and how to use cannabis to heal trauma in the body. So of course, for the book reading, you are going to be in a guided meditation. We will encourage you to create a different relationship with cannabis if you already have one. We'll show you a different way of creating a relationship with cannabis.
A sacred ceremonial relationship rather than a recreational or medicinal, because both of those do create codependencies.
So that's what the book reading, and again, it's for free for 2 hours. It's our gift back to humanity. High frequency musical instruments are played in the background to transmit the words that we're sharing with you.
Because the book is dedicated to cannabis. It is written with rituals and intention. And in our ceremonial readings, coming back to traumas and healing traumas, everything is stuck energies. Little did I know the book is actually written in a rhythmic way. So it's a sound healing concert. It's storytelling. It's a song. It's a guided meditation into your body. It's an introduction to cannabis in a sacred ceremonial way to feel her activating not just your feeling presence in your body, but your higher mental awareness. So turning on both your mind and body so you can reconnect and remarry them since they've been divorced and disconnected for so long. So we're going to dive deep into the sacred secretion and we're going to bust all the myths about Kundalini and about what it takes to rebirth yourself every single month in your sacred secretion ritual and why it takes more than just fasting alone or just sitting and meditating or just visualizing the oil ascending, because
it doesn't work. We can tell you it doesn't work.
I'm a chiropractor. The spine is the highway to the divine and it has to be in alignment. If there are restrictions in the fascia, this sacred oil that is a part of the sacred secretion, it has to climb the spine.
And that's the highway. The highway is the
It
spine.
has to ascend. So if we are stuck with lower frequencies, if Kundalini can't rise, then we are missing out on this quantum leap into our higher
And
consciousness.
if you're not freeing the spine, then that energy is not flowing.
And if we're stuck in fight, flight, freeze, Kundalini, either from solar flares or your monthly sacred secretion, she's going to hit blockages and explode into pain and symptoms.
That's about it.
Anything else, my love?
No.
I know we're looking at the time. If there are any questions, feel free to submit them right now. We have probably about 3 minutes before Instagram kicks us off.
Can you check yours?
And if you have questions afterwards, please reach out to us. Our sole purpose is to help humanity remember how to be your own healer, your own guru, your own shaman.
So reach out to us. We promise you that we will address it to the best of our abilities, but please understand, we don't make shit up as it goes. If we don't know something that you're asking, we are not going to pretend that we're experts at it. We'll tell you we don't know. But it's a funny thing that happens is that most of the time, if you ask something, because we've been working on ourselves, because we're in a daily practice for 3 to 5 hours, I was telling a friend yesterday in a conversation, it feels a lot of times as though I'm in a library continuously. And if somebody asks me something, all I have to do is just take a deep breath and just go pull the information out of literally the ether. So
Absolutely. So don't see any questions, but if you have any questions after the live is over, reach out, send us a message. We are here to guide you on your journey home to your higher self. Thank you all very much. It's been a pleasure and our highest honor. And if you have not yet joined one of our womb kriya or hara kriya ceremonies, that is another free ceremony that you can meet this sacred work and remember how to start crafting your own daily self-healing practice, which will be your go-to practice when the solar flares come in and for your sacred secretion.
And I bet you on Friday we'll be getting a lot in.
We're at 30. That is a lot. There might be more. Maybe a next class is on the way.
And today we might see what's coming.
We shall see.
All right, folks, thank you very much.
Thank you
Have
all.
a wonderful day, and thank you all. We know you're busy, so we appreciate your time.
And we look forward to seeing and guiding you home in a ceremony soon. Bye-bye.